Welcome back to the next episode of the Raiders Rambles. I am Avera, the candy corn doggo, and today, our chief host of the show, Jolt, is currently hiding acorns far away in the trees, as he does, and I am joined by my impromptu co-host, Orion.
Hello, all. I'm currently sitting in Area 51 as I'm an alien from outer space.
Right on. All right, next up we got Blade.
Hello, I am Blade Maverick, Chief Communications Officer of the Furry Raider, and just finally recurring guest on the podcast. Good to be here.
Yeah, awesome. And of course we have Cross.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Oh, yeah, well, whatever. That's kind of lame. And last of all, we have Gil.
Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you have been having a very good day so far, as I have been.
Oh boy, yeah, it's been a crazy week, man.
Very.
First of all,
Yeah.
I mean, any furry knows if you haven't been living under a freaking rock for the past week. Milo Yiannopoulos has joined the furry fandom, and not just the furry fandom, but the furry raiders as well.
Yay!
Yay!
So yes, we welcome him with open paws because he is a freaking crazy awesome dude, and anyone who says otherwise is a racist Nazi bigot.
There we go.
Do it too. There we go. All right.
There it is.
Yeah, the snap,
He's
a
also
snow leopard.
leopard.
It's I just love snow leopards. They're just so cuddly and fluffy, and fuckable too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
I just love like the whiny SJW in the comment.
Oh, what?
We're not
What-
focusing on the people who are like naysayers and gatekeepers. We're here to just celebrate him and in this fandom. He's more than welcome. He's extremely more than welcome to actually see how we do things, what we
Yeah.
do, our interests and hobbies.
The funniest thing is though is that the
Oh, yeah.
person who's complaining what isn't actually a furry. So to be honest, they should just be quiet.
The
So,
tolerant side
we're
of the
gonna get into
fandom.
that. We're gonna get into that a little bit later. But for now, there's another story going on. Orion, if you'd like to discuss the Pokemon 22.
After 22 years, Ash Ketchum has finally won his first Pokemon League title. Yeah, it took him long enough.
Yeah, very
The cur-
long.
And then they already all the memes are out in the works. And my favorite one so far is he's handed the trophy. The curse has been lifted. Fades to dust.
yeah, that was quite funny.
That's great. Also,
Yeah,
the running joke for anyone watching the podcast: it is the Furry Raiders' fault for Ash Ketchum finally winning the league.
Really.
Yeah.
It is
We
our
cursed
fault
him.
he finally won.
Can you show us where it blames us?
No. Just someone's done it. Someone says it's our fault that he finally won.
Ooh.
That's just gonna be that's the running thing. Don't you know everything is our fault. When something happens, it's our fault.
Always.
Oh my god, guys! I remember like watching Pokemon like way back when in the day, and Ash finally had like his first tournament. He finally made it, and then he lost to Richie. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
He
Richie.
freaking lost. He was
He,
crying
he
at the
was very salty in that.
end. Ooh. Oh man, that was rough.
Yeah, I didn't follow it long enough to know about any of this, so I'm kind of in the dark.
Okay, so he's perpetually what, like 11 years old, right? 10, something like that.
I think he's like 10 in the show.
So he would be 32 years old right now. It took him 2 decades to finally win. I mean, doesn't that kind of make him a loser?
The funny
When-
thing is though, like the time it is taken for him to like win this tournament, like it's almost like the same age as I am.
You know what's even funny too? I mean, the thing is, I don't know if it's true or not, but ever since like Ash Ketchum, he's always 10 to 15 years old, right? And after 10 to nearly 2 decades, he's still the same age. How?
There's actually kind of a creepy story about that. Well, like more like a theory. thereabouts, where basically somebody theorized that Ash is actually in a coma. Like in the first episode
When he got
remember
struck
when,
by lightning.
yeah, the lightning. Like, so he's in a coma, so he's like perpetually living out his dream of being a Pokemon master, but he just like continues to do it forever.
Right.
Or maybe
Bruh.
he's like Ralph Macchio. He's like 50 years old, but still looks like he's a teenager.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the other thing. Everyone's also saying, well, now since Ash Ketchum has won the league, does that mean the Pokemon series is over? I'm like, no, not really. Because they'll just get a new main character who does his own little adventures. Like they did Pokemon Ranger. That was a main character, and that could be a continuing series.
Yeah, just like a spin-off.
Oh god,
Mm-hmm.
oh god, it's gonna be a female character, isn't it? An empowered
Most likely.
female character.
A female character.
I mean, that's
of
not
color.
going to be a bad thing after all. I mean,
Well, the show is
I
made in Japan, and they don't really buy into that whole philosophy.
yeah, but that's also the other thing.
God.
It's like, well, it's not going to matter if it's a female because after a female main character is in there, it's just Rule 34 on the first day is just going to make it popular.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
Oh,
Everyone
oh.
haven't noticed that with the Pokemons already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're a furry, yeah. I mean, Lucario. That's all I have to say. About
Lucario.
that. All right. No.
Thanks for bringing that up.
No, sorry, but okay. So, I think that's probably why it took so long for Ash to actually finally win. Because if you think about it, Pokemon was extremely popular. It sold a crap ton of merchandise and whatnot, and they just didn't want to stop the show because, like, if he won, then that's kind of like that's the end goal.
You would have
know?
stopped. You would literally have stopped at only 198 species of Pokemon.
How many are there now?
There is almost over 700.
Jesus, when I stopped watching it, it wasn't long after the first movie. I think that was in like 2001, and that was when they had. I think I got up to like 154.
All right, here's
Right.
here's the
Jesus.
most accurate number of Pokemon through all the generations. There are a total now of 807 catchable Pokemon.
What the hell?
I would not be able to
Wow.
keep up with that. When I was younger, you remember the first 150 by heart, and that was like
Yeah.
a feat. You can't do that now. You can't memorize all of those.
100
Those were the days.
for
Yeah, like-
all to see, to be the Pokemon master.
Master.
is my destiny. No, I remember the Pokemon rap? Like that was the original 150. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that. That was something I always listened to. It's like,
And it was 150, but
Zero.
no one had ever seen Mewtwo until that first movie came out. That was the first time he was ever cast in anything Pokemon. And then it was him, and then that's when they announced Mew as 151, and everybody knew there was a 151, but nobody knew who it was until that movie came out. That I remember.
Almost 900 Pokemon, and this song will last forever.
Yeah.
I mean, if the guy has even the lungs to keep singing.
Well, actually, no. Here's the thing: to play a joke on that, Avira, you say that would be the longest song ever composed. No, there's already a song of Pi.
Oh,
That
Wow.
song is never ending, and someone actually did a
Yes.
piano chord of that thing, and he
Wow.
actually played Pi on the piano.
Well, he must
Hi,
be
play that.
playing it because
Yeah.
that's a number that doesn't end.
Yeah, he's still going, or maybe he died. I don't know.
It's in the abyss.
It's a little morbid.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like I had a extensive collection of Pokemon cards. It was in like one of those slip folders where you put all the little cards in. Like did
Oh, I
anyone have
remember
one of
those.
And like I left it in school and in my school locker, and somebody stole it.
No,
Oh.
that sucks.
I was gutted. Like in Britain, they had people like smashing shop windows to steal Pokemon cards.
Oh Jesus!
Ooh.
Yo, that's how it was though. Like back in the day, it was Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and like kids would be like really vindictive about that kind of shit. Like
Yeah, like
it
If
was
they
being
even-
serious.
we had a card black market in my school.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah,
I did
we
too when I was in like elementary school. Yeah.
Yeah, we were trading like illegal Pokemon cards.
Hey, kid, do you wanna? Or you just like say your buddy like behind the gym lockers or gym scaffoldings, and she's like, hey, Frank, I got a laminated Mewtwo card here for you. I'll trade it for your lunchbox.
But for your lunch inside the lunchbox, we got the tinfoil version. Ooh.
I got the tinfoil laminated version of Mew too.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, he does. That's badass.
Yeah, people would die over cards.
Yo, they would though. Like I remember like fights would happen like when I was at summer camp, like over not Pokemon, but like Yu-Gi-Oh cards and stuff. Like there was some crazy like
Well,
people were
that-
stealing from each other. I mean, it was nuts.
That's taking dueling to a whole nother level. That is.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
just imagine like two kids just getting like two flintlocks out like and doing like an actual duel to step away from one another and then turn and then just bang. Yeah, that I can just envision that in my head.
I summon musket ball.
Oof. Well, that'd be something.
Wait, so were you serious before about what you said? How they're gonna change the character of Ash? Because, like, I guess technically, is the show over, or is it still gonna go on?
It's gonna go. I can only guess it's gonna go on, but I think they may switch up the main characters. They had one of the characters. There was another running series for Pokemon, and it was a boy that was in like a yellow black hat and stuff, and he was what I would say a lot more teenage in personality and stuff like that. I can't remember what it was or what the character's name was, but they did have a series with him. It was one of the characters you could play in one of the Pokemon games. He had a yellow hat with black tint on it and had a jacket and stuff like that. I can't remember quite what it was, but they had them. Let me go find them. And you
I
guys can
honestly
continue
think
discussion.
they're probably gonna end it and probably create like a spin-off series.
I just don't know how much longer you can keep, like 20-something years. I don't know how much longer you can keep a show like that running. Usually when shows get to the 20-year mark is when they retire it.
Well, here's the thing. It
I
may
think it would
not
thrive
end.
better as a game as it originated.
Well, here's the thing. It may not end because you have the Pokemon community that draws up new Pokemon, and it's not a stretch to say that actually Nintendo or whoever owns the rights to it, they do seek out these fans and say, "Hey, can we take your, Pokemon?" They did it with the newest Pokemon movie they had, the live action one with the Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
All the Pokemon drawn there, that was done by a fan. They called him up and said, "Hey,
What?
would you like to do the Pokemon for our movie?" He took it.
I did
Yeah,
not
but my
know that.
point is like, trying to keep plot points. Like how many plot points are you going to have before you start repeating yourself?
Well,
You know what I would say? I'd say make him into Mr. Miyagi, and he becomes the sensei and teaches other little people.
well, no, well, that would be that would push it further for a little while. One of the other things is you could do different plot points. You could still do the Pokemon Ranger thing. You could actually do either Nurse Joy or medical thing. They've had the history with Lucario where Pokemon and human beings fought as nations. You could have a story with that as well.
Is that so?
Yeah, they did it. They didn't you when you saw the Lucario one? They literally had knights with swords and armor. So literally, Pokemon and humans did die fighting wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. So I guess like
Yeah.
a spin-off, like they could go like way into the past and have like I guess Lucario or something like that. Like just show like how ancient humans maybe like even met Pokemon, how they
Yeah.
have a relationship with each
Yeah,
other.
but if you're going to go to the past, you're only going to be able to use the original 150 because the notion at this point that I'm getting is that all these newer ones didn't exist up until a certain point.
Actually, no. That was actually canon. All these other Pokemon are still canon. Here's the thing. Professor Oak even admitted there are, at the beginning of when you played the game, he even admitted in text on video games and in the show itself canonly that we are still finding new Pokemon wherever they may be.
And this was in
Okay,
the
yeah.
original, or was this stated years later?
This was canon. This was stated in the original and in video game
Okay.
text. They said the world is filled of Pokemon, and even on the narrator says still yet to be found and seen.
Okay.
Oh, well, yeah, but then they only really implied that there might just be a few. That's why they showed Ho-Oh,
Right.
The bird thing. But I mean, is it really reasonable that 700 additional Pokemon just randomly existed, nobody knew. I mean,
Well,
come
hold on here. Let's actually do a little fun little trivia. Let's hear.
Okay.
We can do how many animal species are in the world right now. Here you go.
8
so
million?
you said 8.7 million species on planet Earth
close.
right now.
Damn it.
That's
So
been
you
cataloged,
can't,
right?
so you can't really say that like, oh, can there really only be 800? Like that seems artificial. I'm like, we got 8 million plus species on Earth. I think Nintendo can push for almost 3,000 species.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Even-
especially
Fair
a
enough.
lot of them are genetic hybrids.
Move on to this raid that's occurring.
The raid?
Yes.
Oh, the Area 51 raid.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Naruto runners assemble.
yeah.
Oh.
Before we do that,
I can hear them, like,
Ryan,
partying outside. Like, I
Ryan,
can hear
do
the
we
black
have
hole
any?
flying around me and everything.
Do we have any like live comments? Anything interesting going on in the chat before you change topics?
No, sure. Let me take a look at that.
There you go.
So native rabbit Natsu, the little bun from Telegram,
the
says,
bun butt.
"Yeah, bun butt." He says, "Gay stream. I thought this was a family-friendly podcast." Lol. Also, Martin says he loves you. He loves us, and I'm like, we love you too, Martin.
Oh,
And
Cool.
Martin also said Pokemon for a million years. Sonich wanted to know what was going on. It was the following up to the theory of Pokemon more, and now we're current.
I mean, the funny thing is that, about Pokemon that I was reading from the live comments, just give them plenty of time, and they can go even beyond thousands, billions, whatever.
Yep.
Oh no! I just caught something. You think I was bad when I was behind a little bit? I traded away a base set first edition Charizard. Ow!
Ooh.
You could have bought a house with that.
Yeah.
Ouch!
Ooh.
Oh no!
Yeah.
All right. So today and last night was the Area 51 raid on Area 51. Oh, and by the way, guys, it was full of a bunch of different groups of like internet meme cultures.
Yeah.
And furries were part of it. So I wonder, do you guys think that the raiders who went to Area 51 were, the furries who went there, do they call themselves furry raiders?
Well, actually, here, just to
Big
clarify
think.
at the beginning of Avera's statement for
think.
I guess quote legal reasons, or anyone who wants to actually blame us for actually going there and stuff. But it's like none of our staff members, nor did any of our current members actually go to Area 51. There's just
Oh really? I'm there right now. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm currently
I'm standing on the watchtower.
living there because it's my home.
I'm already in the base, clapping the cheeks of the aliens.
Oh boy.
They've impounded my spaceship because I was flying under the influence of alcohol. See,
All right.
Actually, I'm trying to do an LS.
I'll show you some video footage of me flying under the influence.
Yay!
Scary.
Okay, let's have a look.
So this whole thing basically the government responded. This is a cool guys. That was actually a really cool video. I don't know if you guys saw that. But that was made by Tucker Carlson, who the day before the raid happened, the United States government admitted that UFOs exist.
Nah, you think?
Oh, really?
No, but like they did though, and I think that there's a reason for that. And I was telling Cross this earlier. I was a little bit skeptical, but just hear me out, okay? The day before the Area 51 raid happened, the government, the Navy, said that there were certain videos that were recorded by the United States Air Force, that they said they cannot explain what these objects were, whatever it is that they recorded. And I think my theory is that they did this right before the raid on Area 51 because they wanted to be a little bit more transparent and not have a crap ton of people storm a military installation.
True.
Does that make any sense?
Right.
Yeah, makes
No,
sense.
I know, it just makes them sound like, yeah, it's here, but there's no reason to come and attack us or run Naruto run to our base.
Right, so that's probably why they said that, because all right guys, you know what, we know you want answers, here's an answer, don't come here, because months ago the government even made a statement saying that they are willing to protect American assets. You remember when they did that, when the whole thing started blowing up?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's why they said it.
Guys, I've seen the videos. They
That's
said
why they
because
said
it
that.
looks like a white Tic Tac. I say it looked like a white fluffy cat while cat loafing. Sorry.
That's because
I
you're
say
furry
it's Nebuchadnezzar.
trash.
I mean, it depends. Actually, if if it flies and it looks like shit, and that, I mean, it looks anything but a plane, then it's UFO.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it
am out.
oh god.
Hey,
Hey, Lamau.
Hey,
It turns
Lamau.
out-
That's a face only a mother could love.
can you imagine that? Can you imagine aliens debunked by cat videos?
Yeah.
It turns out this whole Area 51 raid actually was basically a hipster fest.
Really?
My
Oh,
Oh
lady.
yeah, there
My
was
lady.
because there was the supposed raid, and then there was the music festival too.
It was just a bunch of YouTubers like live streaming and smoking weed and just laughing and whatever. It was stupid.
It's
Which
just
everybody expected it to be.
it's just like it's you say it's like hipsters and all that stuff. It's just like my alien tips fedora.
Yep.
Oh god, yes.
Yeah, there's my alien by here.
Mmm,
Ah,
extra pair of
Notice the
eyes,
extra eyes.
and that nose ring too. I want to cuddle it.
Yeah,
Yep.
but like if you actually saw like the live streams of like what was happening in Area 51, all these guys, I mean, they were just like drunken college kids, really. Like, yo
Yeah.
guys, here we are at Area 51.
And that's what everybody, including the U.S. government, thought it was going to be. I don't think anybody suspected that people were actually going to try and break into this base.
I mean,
No,
the
they
weird
actually did. They
thing
would
is-
die real quickly. I mean, all they have to do is just launch the A10, and all of a sudden, all you hear is.
Red
No,
mist.
but also keep in mind, it's a huge place. Like
It is.
the area
It's
that like, they have to
miles
guard-
wide.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Like you can't actually
Mhm.
get to any buildings inside the base without having to traverse like 3 or 4 or 5 miles just to get inside. There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah, you would. They would take you out way before you'd get 50 yards past the gate and you'd be dead.
Oh yeah.
Actually, no. What it is? No, there was a person from Area 51 that actually did an interview with somebody, and they said the first thing they'll do. There's like levels. There are circles of security. Right where the gate is just tell people go back. You're not supposed to be here, and that's like the cordial professional things. Like they'll come,
Right.
they'll literally have the agents there say, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but you're coming into restricted area. We're gonna have to ask you to lean back." And they're not violent or threatening with you, just like because they say people always wander into that specific area because of how big they've set the perimeter up. So they do that to say, "Okay, be careful, you're going too far," and they say, "Oh, okay, bye." If someone misses one of the checkpoints with the security guards, what they'll do is this.
They'll light you up.
Yeah, what they'll do is write down. They'll keep an eye on you, and then if you get to the third ring of their defense, they'll actually stop you and say, "Do you know where you are right now?" And then what they'll do is they'll pull you out of a car, take you to a separate building that's not even near close to the base, write down a script, ask you, question you, did you drive? Did you meet anyone before you came here? Did you see anyone within the vicinity of this area here? And then they'll say, if they say, no, I thought I was heading to this place. And if it holds up true, they'll say, okay, fine, well, on your way, don't come back here. And they said that is, and the interviewer or the person that was being interviewed, the agent who was allowed to do this, says once you get to the fourth protection area, if you actually make it past the third ring where they stop you and question you and you actually manage to get past that, they will shoot you at that point.
Well,
Because
there's
then-
signs that say that even at the first checkpoint.
I know, but then
Fast
even
passengers
then,
will be killed.
I know.
But people
And-
get curious.
Yeah, but when
And then don't
when
care.
they said if you got to the fourth shield circle of the area, because they say the person was only permitted to say there are 6 to 7 levels of security, and they said the first ring is the thinnest one, and it's also the easiest to get through. The second one is just the time consuming one. The second one is most effective because it's just time consuming to get to the base. The third one also automatically stop you, and that's just armed guards, but they can't really do lethal force unless you do something to them. Once you get to the fourth, the fourth one is the vicinity of the base. The fifth one is inside the building. And then the sixth one is doors that you have to have a security code to go into certain areas. Even the security guards are not allowed into the doors.
That's because the aliens will shoot them.
It's
what
like, and then
that-
and even certain staff members, even generals who do have clearance to go through one door, can't even go through the 7th layer of security. They're not allowed past the 7th layer of security.
So
But
who the hell is?
That's
If
only
in
who's
Area
ever
51 then.
trusted. The 7th layer of security is the one, like even the president of the security agent said the president of the United States with even his security clearance can't go through the 7th ring.
then who can?
Well, this is what people need to realize.
Aliens!
Aliens!
Top
Area
10.
51 is a military testing facility for experimental aircraft. The SR-71 was built there back in, I think it was either the 70s or the 80s. And that wasn't publicly declassified until about 25 years after that plane was built. There's a lot of things that are
actually
there, planes and helicopters and weapons and missiles of quote unquote the future that are being built there today. And they don't want anybody finding out about that technology. There was an incident, I think it was in Britain or Greenland or something, where there was some sort of Air Force that took pictures of what they thought was a UFO. It ended up being an experimental U.S. Air Force plane. I think it was the F-4. But because of the shape that it was, nobody knew what it was and they couldn't identify it. And the U.S. government found out about it and they went to their office and said, you're going to take that picture down and you're going to discard of it and no one else is going to see it. And then when it was declassified, it was announced that, it was a picture of an F-4. But the government didn't want people finding out about it because it wasn't something that was supposed to be known.
Well, it wasn't that they didn't want the U.S. citizens to find out, because if the United States was the only nation in the world, all this stuff would be declassified in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like with if there is no military or opposition to the United States, it would say, "Oh, look, we're now making this F-4 fighter," and like fast forward it to the future to travel to the fastest planet to harvest resources. Like that shit would be public every time. Hey, space military just made this new mining equipment. Look how advanced it is, because there's no other government to steal from.
So Blade.
So if we're at war with someone, you don't want to tell them what we're doing.
Yeah, true. But the funny thing is, well, too, like, since you mentioned that the F-4 was only declassified only 20 to 25 years later, so in a nutshell, it would mean that our current equipment is 20 to 25 years late. Huh.
And look how well it does.
Yeah, it's not necessarily true. It's just that when you, especially back in that time, we were in the Cold War. You didn't want the Russians or the communists finding out about what we had the capabilities of building, because then they would build something in response to that while we were still building it.
Yes, but the thing is, but the thing is, we still have some communists around, just waiting to start World War III.
The difference is, though, is that if it's not Russia which wants American secrets, it's China.
China. It could also be North Korea as well.
Yeah,
North Korea is
even Venezuela too.
Truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, like what wasn't the B-2 Spirit bomber developed at Area 51?
Yep.
Yeah, the B-2 bomber was there.
You mean the donut bomb? You mean the Dorito bomber?
Yeah,
Dorito bomber.
Area 51, I think it's actually called Nellis Air Force Base. It's a U.S. Air Force base, so that's where most of the Air Force aircraft are designed. That stealth helicopter that we sent over to kill Osama bin Laden.
The Black Hawks, the ones that have the twin rotating propellers that literally make it almost silent.
Yeah, it was silent. It was angled so it would deflect radar beams. It was basically almost the same construction as the SR-71.
Yes, indeed. But I'm kind of thinking about it now, and I forgot what I was gonna say.
I don't know. Do you guys think that there might be extraterrestrial technology?
That's obvious that there are, because you look at Earth and you look at how many species are on this planet.
So why wouldn't there be on other planets, right?
Yeah. The thing is, though,
and then the other thing is scientists say, but for there to be life on other planets, it has to have this nice balance of, and this is what I don't like about the scientists is they say, oh, they need oxygen and sunlight and all this stuff. I'm
No,
like,
they
you don't fucking know.
It
I
depends on the
mean-
it depends on the organic makeup of the whatever is living there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you could have an alien species that produces energy by being cold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be something.
It's allergic to oxygen and can't breathe it unless unless they die.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the
you know,
grunts
like,
from Halo.
or like trees. You know,
Yeah, they
like
didn't
trees
take into
take in
account
carbon
like,
dioxide and exhale
organisms.
oxygen. So that could happen.
They didn't take into account like organisms such as extremophiles.
Well, my question was, did you guys think that extraterrestrials exist in Area 51?
Probably
No.
not if he did.
No.
I do.
I don't think they have extraterrestrial life.
Maybe not organic
Area
sort of life forms, but the technology is definitely there.
Yeah.
I believe that.
The thing
I
is,
mean-
they probably have another location, which nobody
Maybe.
knows about.
Well, or maybe it actually is Area 51. That's why it's so heavily guarded with
Yeah,
fucking
it's-
tanks and
there's-
missiles and.
Yeah, well, it could
entire
also be heavily
circles.
guarded because of the stuff that we're just building that we don't want people to find out about.
Mhm.
I
you're
don't think
saying the
aliens
president
exist. I think it's
can't
just
even
a
go there?
military testing thing.
There's a theory that Area 51 is linked to another underground complex called Area 52.
Nah,
That's where they put
I've heard
bad
about
doggos.
that.
Th-
Is that the one where like it's connected to like a cave, and people have seen like UFOs flying into the cave that go underground or some
Yeah,
shit?
it's basically
the f-
connected to this train system, this large
Yeah,
tram
well, like I
system.
said, underground. Yeah, that's yeah. All right.
well, then it wouldn't be Area 52. It would just be Area 52 subsector 2, or that'd be Area 51 subsector 2. You don't call it Area 52 because the reason why it got its name Area 51 was because of a cartography map, and where the Air Force was just the area named Area 51 when they were mapping it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it would just be Area 51 subsector 2.
I mean, it has a nice ring to it, you know. Like it just kind of sounds like this obscure, mysterious place, Area 51.
Well, I know, but you know what? That would have been.
Ooh.
It would have actually just had the same intended effect if they mapped the area and built the Air Force in a different spot, like anywhere else. They could be like Area 1. Yeah, that would just been the same
Lame.
thing.
More. Yeah. Like, has anyone here ever played the game Area 51?
Yeah, I played it. Yeah, that was
never-
years ago. Yeah.
I did play it, but like I never was able to finish it.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
like
They
the
stopped
game
you at the
destroy
7th
all
level.
humans.
They stopped you at the 7th boss.
Oh my god.
Oh, you mean Black Site Area 51 or just Area 51?
No, there's
it was
an
just
FPS
Area
called
51.
Area 51.
Okay, so the 2005 version.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the one which has the shit FOV.
I remember that
Oh,
game.
you know what? I actually saw that. Yeah, I'm gonna look this up on an Area PC. Yeah, I think I remember seeing this. I'm not sure if I played it though. I can't remember.
Yeah, see,
All right, and do we have any fun live comments going on right now?
We do
Yeah,
have.
Yeah, we do have. What? Area 51's connected to an underground railroad. Who runs this shit? Harriet Tubman? I see what you did there.
All right, that's
Okay.
It turns out that, like, the actual area of Area 51 is 25 miles ish, and like, the actual restriction around it is more than 500 square miles of restricted airspace. Oof.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. And when
Okay.
they mean airspace, that extends as like a giant beam up to space.
Or like
Yes.
this huge
Yeah.
bubble.
Nope, it's not a bubble. It's just basically think about the square dimensions of your house, and then have the lights shine like a laser beam shine straight up into space. That's your restricted airspace. All
I
the way
haven't
around.
seen Area 51 on an actual aeronautical chart, but I know there's areas around the country. I know there's one, I think it's in Connecticut, where on the chart it's got a block as to where you're not supposed to fly because they have like laser testing or something, and the altitude is from 0 to infinity. It actually says that on the chart. So you
And
can't
the,
fly over that at any altitude.
Well, that sounds kind of dangerous.
Just like Washington, D.C.
I saw that. I was like, am I in a cartoon? Zero to Infinity. That's on an actual FAA publication, but because of how far lasers can
Go, yeah. So
yeah.
that's so,
Yeah.
but they do that 0 to an infinity mostly because you could, in theory, have a telescope that could focus all the way back to Earth from Mars, and that's why they do the infinity thing.
I
Yeah.
see.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, then again, laser's pretty much light, so yeah.
All right, so I think we're moving on to our next topic,
Yay!
which is something pretty interesting that's happening here in the good old US of A in regards to climate change and carbon emissions and states' rights and all of that crazy nonsense. Yes, Cross, I know you're more well versed than I am in this situation. If you'd like to start.
And who would that
Yeah.
be? Oh, him. Okay.
So basically what's happening is I think it was the Trump administration is looking to revoke California's ability to regulate how they conduct like their emissions tests, because with auto, California has a strict set of regulations that state how much, I guess, of a carbon footprint, quote unquote, in their emissions that cars can put out. So this all started. I can't even. It's been around for as long as I can remember. So automakers were saying, all right, well, when we build our fleets, we'll just build a line of California compliant cars, and then we'll build a line for every other state that you can't sell in California. Then, because cars sit on lots, they can't sell, so they shuffle them around. Well, if you have California only compliant cars that aren't selling, you can't really move them anywhere, and you can't move cars into California without making these changes. So automakers basically said, all right, for every car that we build, we'll just make it California compliant. So, and if you look underneath the hood of pretty much any car these days, it'll have a sticker that says, this vehicle is compliant with the California state regulations on emissions, blah, whatever it says. And now the Trump administration is basically saying California can't do that, so we're revoking their ability to be able to do so. And from what I saw, it was like a whole sort of like states' right issue where California was saying, well, it's our right to be able to do that, which is technically true, but their regulations are not just affecting them. It's affecting every other state, because now automakers are essentially forced to build California compliant cars to bring them into the country.
Yeah, the problem.
That's communism.
That's scary.
Really weird.
Yo, that's some scary
And I'm
stuff.
not against the California emissions, because listen, less pollution is. I mean, California is probably one of the most pollutant states in the country. That's besides the point.
That's kind of ironic.
But I mean, I don't disagree with how they do things. But it's like with your state inspection in your car, it varies from state to state what's compliant and what's not. So I feel it should be the same sort of thing where, okay, if you're going to have a car in California, you as a consumer are responsible for making sure it's up to our codes. Or if it's something like where they're going to say you have to have certain equipment on the car, then the California state government should be responsible for having that installed when the car gets there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of reminds me of, I'm sure you guys have probably seen this before, like on certain products, like anything with plastic, or hell, even like e-cigarettes. It says, in the state of California, chemicals in this product were known to cause cancer.
Yeah.
Or this product is banned in the state of California. So it seems like California really has like a very, very strict regulations.
They're very
It
delicate.
seems like it's trying to be impeding upon the entire freaking country.
Or you know what? Or Vera, do you know what? It could also be like a magical curse upon California. Whereas if you were to smoke, this vape, then you would instantly get cancer, like that. You get cancer, then you would die in less than a second.
So why is it only in the state of California that
I don't understand California, because they put all these regulations and everything like that. It's not really doing anything for them. And the state government is always complaining how they don't have money.
Well, gee, I wonder why. Maybe because
And
they're
ironically,
banning
it's like
everything
the
that people
economic
want.
powerhouse of the country. It never has money. How is it an economic powerhouse? I don't understand it. Like I don't know what goes on in California, and I think I would die of my brain just imploding if I was to even try and scratch the surface on like some of the stuff that goes on over there.
Oh, no.
It's the People's
California-
Republic of California.
No,
Guys,
California
it's
is
shit.
an economic powerhouse
I don't
People's
get it.
Republic of California.
because of Hollywood and because of
Oh.
Silicon Valley. That's why.
I lived in
no.
California for 8 years.
The Republican there is a little bit of a lie.
I lived in
Well-
California for 8 years, and I'll tell you from personal experience, there's 3 times the paperwork on everything you do there, from renting an apartment to buying a car to trying to make that car pass the California emissions, aka smog test.
Oh,
There
my
is 3 times the paperwork, and 3 times the cost of everything. It's nuts. And I'm talking about like 14 years ago when I lived there. I don't even know
Yeah.
what it is today.
Oh,
but like here's
definitely
the
got
thing.
better.
Well, Cross brought up a really good point about he doesn't understand why it's an economic powerhouse. It's because you have things like Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and Silicon Valley. Major companies and huge media outlets are based there. But aside from that, the cities are crumbling and the people.
No, what
are
I meant is
suffering.
like I don't
yeah, the
understand
homelessness.
how it's an economic powerhouse if it's not making money. Like you would think if California has all this infrastructure and all these industries that are out there, that the state would be able to get enough money from it to be able to handle their own stuff. But every time you turn around, the government's begging for money because they don't have it.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And at
It's
that point,
weird.
you just say, "Nope, fuck you. You're on your
And
own."
they have some of the highest taxes in the country. I think the sales tax in San Francisco is like almost 10.5%.
Oh my god.
They have really high tax rates out there. So the government's getting the
Crazy.
money. I just don't know where it's going.
No, that's actually the problem, though, is when they have that high tax rate, no one can afford it. No one spends. That's why they have no money. That's why they say, "Oh, we need money," so the government just does a bailout. That's also money that puts them in the red because they got to pay that back. Well, with their high tax rate, they can't pay it back.
I
so
also
the
just wonder how do the people who inspect the cars know like what the CO2 level is going to be? It's like
They hook it up to a computer.
Yeah, they
all
they
right,
hook it
but
up
like
to an
so
internal
let's
computer. They do.
well, my car is from 2011. All right, so am I not allowed to have my car in California?
No, yours is going to comply with the emissions in California. I think it was like a standard. It was either the late 90s or the early 2000s.
It might even be before the 90s.
Hell, even so,
Hmm.
let's say I was a classic car collector. I had like a 1974 Chevy or something. I can't.
You're exempt.
Those cars are probably grandfathered in because they were built way before that time, and there's really nothing you can do to change how they're.
Okay,
like-
so then what exactly would be banned under this? That's what I'm kind of confused
Well,
about.
nothing's banned because every modern car that's built is compliant with their standards. So I don't know exactly what parts on the car would. Well, I would imagine you have to have at least a catalytic converter because that's what reburns all the exhaust gases and keeps the emissions down.
You are on a
True.
very good track, and I can tell you from personal experience, California car emissions, cars that are built for California compliance have an extra part, and now I guess all the cars that are being built have that extra part on them. It just became a normal thing. But before it became law, you had 49 states to buy a car, and then you had the 50th state, which I'm calling is California. Cars built and shipped and sold in California had to have the extra part. It was like a more or less, it was like a smog pump. It would compress the air before it would get to the catalytic converter. It would compress the
Well,
catalytic
you're talking about the
exhaust.
canister, right?
Something like that. I forgot what it was, but I bought a car in New Jersey when I was living in New Jersey, and it had one of those California compliant smog pumps on it, and it broke. And the mechanic goes, "You don't really need that, so I'm just going to remove it, and your car will be fine because you're in New Jersey now."
Oh,
As he was explaining that, then it clicked what Avir was actually trying to ask. I don't think I got the question when you first asked it.
The problem I see with California having like specific regulations on cars, I can see it forming like a sort of trade barrier between California and other states.
Well, that's
true.
why all the cars built today are compliant, because that's exactly what was happening. You would have cars that you couldn't sell in California because they weren't compliant. So all these manufacturers were losing money on cars that they couldn't sell because they couldn't bring it to California, or they were losing money because they just had the two different types of cars they were selling in the same country. So they said, screw it, we'll just make it comply with the strictest state standards, and then we can sell it to everybody.
Okay, so is it a bad thing that Trump revoked these regulations?
No, it is not.
I see. This is
Cars are so fuel efficient
I
today;
agree
it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think every state should just adopt it because what's the alternative? But at the same time, one state shouldn't be that deciding factor. It should be the federal government that makes that decision.
I think the federal government.
Actually, it shouldn't even be the federal government. It should be what is the best standard and thing you have, and you can't get that by having one thing or organization be the monopoly. You see, you've got you are trading the state of California being the monopoly of the car standard, and then you're giving that monopoly back over to the federal government. Now, I could be biased as being a libertarian here, but the monopoly is now staying the same. It's just that now you got another asshole doing it.
Just changing hands, that's all.
Yeah,
rather than letting all 50 states work towards what the standard should be, because at that point you can have all 50 states look at that and say, hey, I found the best one for the cheapest standard.
Guys, consider this.
Consider this.
When that went into effect, the average automobile, whether it be a car, a truck, a SUV, or whatever it was, the average EPA estimated gas mileage was around, I mean, don't quote me on this, it's not accurate, but it was somewhere around 20 miles per gallon. These days, our cars are more or less 35 to 40 miles per gallon if you're not a Toyota Prius. If you're a Prius, I think it's more like 50. So it doesn't matter anymore. We don't need that smog pump anymore. That's the only thing that I can think of when I hear Trump saying, hey, California, you don't need to put this thing into effect anymore.
Not to mention the facts, though, too, about cars becoming electric and all.
Yeah, but
the thing
is that a lot of people don't know is that this catalytic converter that saves emissions, it actually kills fuel economy. If you rip the catalytic converter off a car, you'll actually get better gas mileage with it. You'll just be pumping a lot of carbon.
I was just kind of thinking about like the larger picture of things.
No,
this whole premise is based on the fact that, humans are destroying the planet by driving.
Now, hang on. Before everybody starts cutting their catalytic converters off the car to try and get miles to gallon, it's not going to work.
I'm not going to do that.
The car does have to be tuned for it. So,
it's illegal too.
Saying,
it's really hard.
It really doesn't. I'm not concerned that me driving to and from work is going to kill the planet. I really don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, the problem is though it's not carbon which is the problem. If you get rid of the catalytic converter, it's gases like sulfur dioxide which are highly toxic.
Yeah, I mean gasoline when it burns down. I mean, the smoke is the least of your problems.
Well, that's the thing that I got so weird when they were saying that carbon, where I looked it up and says, oh yeah, CO2 traps heat. And I'm like, is it going to suffocate you though? And then everyone says like, well, no, it's not going to do much. I'm like, but then what about fucking NO2, you bastards?
Or carbon monoxide. That comes out of exhaust too.
Yeah.
True.
And
I'm less worried about factories putting out if they put out just pure CO2, because holy shit, the plants must be having a feast on the factory if it's Jesus Christ, I would like to see a factory pumping out nothing but actual pure CO2 and then see the plant life. I'd see vines growing up the fucking stouts.
Yeah, right, up the wazoo. I love global warming. Everything is so warm and nice.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have to be careful how that's regulated, because if the plants can only handle so much CO2 and you're pumping twice as much, it's like your computer. If your computer is only programmed to run a certain speed and you try and run twice that speed, your computer's going to crash.
Right.
In my humble opinion, I think it's worse to try and dig up the precious minerals and the precious things that batteries need that go into Priuses.
Lithium.
Like lithium? Yeah.
Oh yeah,
like
that was that was an interesting argument from PragerU, and everyone says, "Oh well, PragerU things." Well, no, it's actually accurate, and this has been long-standing public information. They say pure electric cars will save the planet, and I said, and I even said,
Bullshit.
I said,
They go to a
no,
junkyard and
because,
start rotting.
and I'm saying, here's the problem with that: you have to destroy the planet, dig up it, and upend it to find lithium ore to go into the batteries. Even then, once you're done with that battery, there's only a limited shelf life of that battery. You can't cleanly recycle that, because if you ever cracked open that battery, if anyone who has ever worked with those batteries, because I have to work with these batteries too, especially when on my job, when my dad does mowing the lawn and upkeeping and maintenance of the property and stuff. One of the batteries broke, and it oozes out acid that could literally chew through your skin, even stone. That shit is not something you want in a landfill. And then everyone says, "Oh, but you can recycle it." There are many things you cannot recycle properly. You can't recycle a lithium-ion battery properly. You can't even recycle the solar energy panels. That thing's not biodegradable, and everyone's saying we need more solar panels. I'm like, no, we need less solar panels. We need more nuclear energy, because all that is steam. Because the nuclear energy, everyone's saying, oh, but like Chernobyl and the 3 Mile then they said 3 Mile Island incident and fucking the power plants in Japan. I said, and someone actually sent me a chart list of all the power plants that had these meltdowns or destructions and things that respectively poisoned the water supply or did some sort of damage to the environment. Out of all those, I looked at the radiation scale or the damaging effect from those damaged things. The worst two was the 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and the one in Japan.
Fukushima.
Those were the 3 worst ones in human history. But if you took those 3 worst ones, those were 20 years apart from each other.
And it probably did less damage than the overall usage of fossil fuels.
It did. It really did less damage. It's
Blade,
just
tell me
that
this.
it's just going to be a long-lasting effect. But the thing is it's not like what you do with pumping chemicals into the air, which spread over a bigger land than the fucking elephant's foot at Chernobyl. You look at the map, look at the map of where Chernobyl is, and then you see the town. That's the town you can't go back to anymore. But now the radiation is seceding back, and even the Russian government says, hey, the outskirts of city are livable again, but just don't go yet.
Wasn't it this show a couple of weeks ago that said they were making vodka out of water that was at Chernobyl?
That sounds
insane. I wouldn't trust it, honestly.
But that's the thing, everyone. But there's also the funny thing, though, is to make the solar panels, to make the windmills, and all the quote green energy, that produces CO2 emissions. To produce just the and then they also I was watching a website, to make windmill farms, you have to keep those lands flat and free of trees constantly. So you're still upending trees that are still trying to grow. And then people says, oh, well, no, that's a lie. I said, no, that is a consistent environmental maintenance on those farms, because when trees grow there, birds get killed. It also slows down the wind that has to come through there, because if there's any trees next to the windmill, it slows down the wind that it has to collect and pick up. And it's just like, it's just
okay. I
The
think we're getting a little bit off track here.
Yeah, like the biggest disadvantage with windmills is their lack of efficiency. Like you're wasting more energy than you're producing. That's the biggest issue with wind farms.
Yep.
Do we have any live comments? Right
yes. Native Rabbit Natsu, the bun butt, says, "Hold on, wait. Will Chernobyl wine give me superpowers?" Actually, I have something funny to say about that as well too. My dad actually told me about that even before essentially everything. I mean, not essentially everything, but in Russia, like back in the day, I'd say around 1800, around that area, when people first discovered, like uranium, that sort of stuff. Don't quote me where it is on that time, but when they discovered it, they had some ideas, essentially your average makeup seller when they were selling you like the sun water. And what was sun water? It was essentially water with infused with enriched uranium, and they had some things like toothpaste, some shoes, and you can imagine the rest. However, with time, as they were exposed to radiation, they were obviously become decay and tumors on them. So you can have the mental image on how that ended.
I see.
I got two comments
All
here. First one is from Sparky. It says, I like classic cars more than modern cars. Sparky, remind me to send you a video that is going to change your mind on that very quickly. Another one here from Native Rabbit says, I will say the bad thing about this is that it can set a precedent that the federal government can step in and overrule local government by saying you screwed up. That's in reference to the California emissions. I would agree. However, climate change at this point has become a global issue. And I think the federal government at that rate should step in and start not taking over, but start saying, hey, listen, this is what we need to do on this particular situation.
Fair enough. All right, so we only got a few minutes left. And the last little
Topic.
tidbit of the day. What do you guys think about Milo joining the fandom?
I love it, actually. He's so adorable.
Yep,
And
he's
lovable,
nice.
too.
Oh, didn't we miss one other one of Vera?
Well, we don't have much time left, but this is like...
Nah.
Well,
you
we
know,
can
that's how
scroll
we
over that. We
started.
could just
That's
glance
another
over that.
Yeah, we can breeze through it.
Wanted
Yeah,
to let
just
you
a
guys
small
know,
breeze through it.
I was
Well,
curious,
well,
what your thoughts were about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I'll accept him either way. I really don't mind.
Yeah,
I mean, I know he's probably watching this. I have mixed feelings about him. I think he causes a lot of turbulence just to get the light shining on him. I mean, I do agree with some of the things that he says, but I don't necessarily agree with why he does it. I mean, I've talked to him a little bit in the group chat. He seems like a pretty cool guy, easy to get along with. If I saw him in person, I would definitely shake his hand, everything like that. But I think what he is doing is he's just trying to get the spotlight to shine on him.
Yeah,
And
the
I think
problem is, though,
there's a way to do what he is doing, and I don't think he's doing it the correct way.
the problem is, though, I don't think that's necessarily his fault because it was mainly the reaction to him.
But then he reacted to that in a way he should not have reacted, in my opinion.
The thing is, though, that there was other groups around him outside of his control which reacted in an even worse manner than he did.
No, but
true.
the thing is that this is pretty much public at this point. The convention said, hey, we're revoking your membership. Don't come. And then he turned around and said, screw you, I'm coming anyway. There's a way to do that.
And there's a Proud Boys, too.
It's because he booked the hotel rooms. So, he's probably going to be in the hotel, but he's not probably going to, say hi to, a few people outside the convention.
I see the Magnus Iridian incident happening all over again this year.
Oh, well.
Yeah. The thing is,
you know what? But you know what? If he somehow manages to get the legal precedent to actually say MF or MMF really did not have legal justification to revoke his thing and all that kind of stuff, or at least if he does have some sort of workaround. The thing is I highly doubt anything is going to happen from this and stuff like that. What we've seen is just screaming, and I'm very optimistic. He's just going to go there. He's going to talk. He's going to say hi. The Proud Boys are going to go there. They're going to just have shits and giggles, and they're going to laugh. The only group that would actually probably concern me about, hey, I'm going to cause problems is probably Antifa. Yep.
Yes.
See, this is the thing. It's MFF is a private organization. They can revoke your membership for any reason they see fit. I do agree with MFF's statement where they said that there is a security threat. However, I do not believe it is Milo that is a security threat.
It's Antifa that is a security threat.
It literally can't be him because, come on.
He's not the one that's inciting violence.
Here's the thing.
There's one of him, and there's 10,000 attendees. Who's the real threat?
Well, no, here's the thing. We can poke fun all day long at the staff members and whoever set up MMF and say, oh, ha, we can do the criticism of you're stupid to believe a gay Jewish man is actually a threat or something like that. We can poke fun. But in all seriousness and sticking an olive branch out to the staff is just, they're not stupid. they know him. They'll probably look through all the podcasts he's been on, and they'll probably watch all the 10 to 12 hours of him talking. And they'll look there.
Oh, they know who he is.
And then they'll just say, yeah, no, of course. All he is just an edgy, and we're saying it because he actually complies with it. He's an edgy faggot.
Yeah, that's basically what he is. He's a dangerous faggot, as he calls himself.
Yes. But the thing is,
Actually,
about the
out of the chat, and I laughed my ass off for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm just like, and here's the thing, like, no one can say, oh, that's a slur. I'm like, no, he even said it when he was out of college. He says he prefers if someone actually says he's a gay Zionist Jew. He can't be a white supremacist. And then he says to the college kid, he goes like, oh, I prefer race mixing kike faggot, but whatever.
What?
Whoa.
Ooh.
Whoa.
No, that's literally him. That's quote from him.
Oh shit.
Whoa.
Yeah, we need to tone that back.
Oh, darn it.
Shit just went from 0 to 100 real quick.
Well, no, you're not incorrect. He actually did say that.
He said that, and it's also on a YouTube video that is not.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would repeat.
Shut down.
I saw that.
Hey,
all right.
But the thing is,
we're gonna have to end it pretty soon, guys. All right.
Mhm.
All right.
Any last live comments before we go to closing statements?
Well, Azar just came in, say hi, and all that stuff, and that's pretty much it.
But again,
Right.
as we're going to say as well too, I mean, just a bit of a closing statement. The furry cons are a place, where you're supposed to go, listen to music, have fun, meet friends, etc., etc. And as for everything, let's say that does not correlate, that is, let's say compatible with politics, these days, these political climates is a very good example that politics have no place when, in the furry fandom, because otherwise you would have, if not people like Milo Yiannopoulos, then we would definitely have, people that are going to be way, way worse. And sure, if you're a norm, you would come to the furry fandom, or even the Sonic fandom, like myself. Fuck it, go for it. Who's stopping you?
All right, Inu.
The only closing statement I have is what I've seen is that the most tolerant fandom on Earth, the one who claims they're the most tolerant, probably not true.
Nobody brags about being tolerant.
I just, what I've seen is that there's small little groups here and there that really are tolerant. And when I joined Raiders, you know what? Raiders are pretty tolerant. I've never seen anything negative from you guys. I love you guys, and yeah, let's keep this tolerance going on. Let's be the nice face of the fandom.
All right, we'll just continue to be us, as we have always been.
Right on, man.
I absolutely love you guys.
There is just a very deep level of irony to it, isn't there?
All right, Cross, what you got?
And shepherds we shall be, for thee, my lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand, that our feet may swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow a river forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be. In nomine Patri et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti.
Yay!
That made total sense.
Fascinating.
I'm not gonna, just because Avira said that, I'm not gonna tell anybody where that's from. But if you got that reference, I love you.
Warhammer.
I guess you don't
That's
love
not
me
Warhammer.
then.
Yeah, it is Warhammer.
All right, Blade. Wait, I already did you, right?
No, you didn't.
Nope.
No.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So
What's up?
closing statements. Well, the closing statements is just anyone that wants to join the Raiders, or if you don't want to join us or anything like that. You don't have to. But the message and advice I will give to every fur in the fandom: don't listen to the people who say who can and cannot be a furry. It's none of their fucking business. It's not their place to tell you what you can and can't be. If you have a genuine interest in seeing animal characters with anthropomorphic features, do you have fun? Find people who have the same interests as you. Go to a con, laugh, joke, join groups, do whatever you want. Don't let people say because of whatever you are or what you think, you can't enjoy something. That's not their place to tell you.
Right
Hell
on.
yeah.
As if they'd ever been, but always keep in mind of the deep irony that reality can be.
Yeah. All right, Orion.
Yeah, all I'm going to say is that this has been a good podcast, and I think we should fulfill the role of becoming like an opening and accepting fandom to people regardless of their political affiliation, race, gender, or whatever. And
I
I
mean,
think the Raiders should fulfill the original goals of what the fandom was created for to begin with.
and yeah, I mean, of course, as the Trump hat would say, "Make America Great Again." I would say, "Make politics into fiction again."
Okay.
Just
All
like
right,
just a
guys.
character aspect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's remember how to have fun without politics.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if it would
Yeah.
be like just like a stormtrooper armor, that sort of stuff.
Right.
Just have fun, Just have fun, If you want to be like some sort of fancy, go for it. But let the fancy be you, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Just go back to enjoying our original hobby.
And before
All right, guys,
and before police sirens knock on the studio door and say, "Fun police, open up!"
True.
Well, all right. So tonight went super well. Milo, if you're watching, you are fucking awesome. And yes, we do welcome you with open arms. I'm very sorry that some of the SJW people in this fandom don't like you so much. Trust me, we get it, but we're one of the few pockets of resistance. Anyways,
Hooray!
hope to see you guys next week. By the way, you can watch our podcast on our website, furryraiders.org. It's also on Podbeam, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts, as well on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is us signing off.
Be
We
safe,
hope you-
guys.
We hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. As we look forward for the next one. So hope to see you guys next time. And until then,
Bye.
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 Awoo.
awoo.
Fine $200.